Okay, well, I filed a run for the U.S. House of Representatives, District 5, and I want to have a referendum in the voters pamphlet so the voters of Oregon get to vote on this goddamn war in Afghanistan. 16th year at war with the planet's fifth poorest country. This is a resource war. We are in Afghanistan because of the $60 billion a year heroin market. Now, to give you some perspective on 60 billion, Iraq's oil is worth 100 billion a year. Well, the poppy crop, the opium, converted to heroin, at $60 billion a year, it doesn't have nearly the overhead as the oil. You don't need tankers to get it to the streets of Chicago or the streets of Salem. We have 950 kids homeless in Salem, Kaiser 24J. Direct result of the heroin epidemic. All over this country. All over the country. And the media, the DEA say it's because of the misprescriptions. Doctors misprescribing, prescription mistakes. These 13-year-old kids are getting the pills out of mom's cabinet. That is horseshit. That is a deflection. It's a DEA deflection. They don't want people to notice the 224,000 hectares of heroin planted in Afghanistan. A hectare is 2.4 acres. Afghanistan is about the size of Texas. It's a little smaller than Texas. Now here's a story. 224,000 hectares planted in 2014. It was a record crop. The report, UNODC report, comes out in October. 2015's crop was down 19%. 19% of $60 billion is a lot of money. 2 weeks after that report came out, Obama goes on television and it says we need to redeploy 5,000 troops to Afghanistan. Where do you think those 5,000 troops were deployed? Kandahar province and Helmand province, where most of the planning, most of the heroin, the drop in the plantings occurred in those two provinces. So that's where those 5,000 troops went back. They need to get the planning back up. In October, we're going to learn what the 2015 crop was, and we'll see what the plant, if those 5,000 troops deployed, bring the planning back up. It's a resource. This is the third opium war. That when we had the British Empire, we had the Burma, the heroin trade in Burma and Southeast Asia, Thailand, marketing it in China. Now we have this third opium war. The American Empire took over this resource in Afghanistan and is marketing it all over the world, but a lot of it comes to the United States. We have an epidemic sweeping this country. Anyway, yeah, I want to have a referendum about our invasion, occupation, torture, assassination, drone strikes. Here's my voters pamphlet statement, part of it. Withdraw immediately from Afghanistan. The universe does not forget the killing of children. 100 billion per year we spend in Afghanistan. We have 6 permanent military bases in Afghanistan. Kandahar is the busiest airport in the world. 5,000 flights and 200 shipping containers leave every day. Heroin cost $400 a gram in 2001. This morning it's $100 a gram at North Salem High School. 950 public school kids in Salem homeless, direct result of the heroin epidemic. 22 U.S. veterans commit suicide every day. During the last 12 months, 52,328 missiles and bombs were dropped on 7 Islamic countries, third world countries. 80% of the casualties in our wars of invasion and occupation are women and children.
They may have, but
The Taliban controlled the poppy planting in Afghanistan for a single year, 2001. They had the planting down to 8,000 hectares. It's now 220,000 hectares. Let's see. Some of the other things I want to oppose the TPP. No GMOs in Oregon. We oppose Citizens United. Corporations are not people. We want to break up the major media monopoly that was created in the Clinton administration. We want to end all foreign military aid. You know, half of our military aid goes to Israel. It's $8 billion a year, $4 billion of it goes to Israel. What the hell is going on there? They are the 6th largest weapon producer on the planet. Why are we giving them $4 billion? I want to begin cutting the defense budget and use those resources and talent that the Defense Department has developed to address the Fukushima catastrophe. 100,000 gallons of highly radioactive waste pours into the Pacific Ocean every day for the last 5.5 years. The technology to fix that catastrophe does not exist. We're either at the edge of the cliff, or many people who study this say that we are through the guardrail. That that it may be too late. The environmental disaster. Every politician this election season is going to be talking about jobs. Now here are some numbers about jobs. For every $1 billion the federal government spends, for every billion they spend on military, 11,200 jobs. For every billion they spend on environment and clean energy, 16,800 jobs. For every billion they spend on health, 17,200 jobs. For every billion they spend on education, 26,700 jobs. So they're going to talk about jobs. Let's talk about real jobs. These 3 areas are investments. The military defense spending, we don't get a dime back. All that does is make defense contractors wealthy. Halliburton, General Dynamics, and the rest of them. It is, and they own the government. They own the media. This triumvirate of the corporations, the government, the media. They're just the American taxpayer is being ripped off and raped. We're killing people for money. Anyway, I want to have a referendum in the budget when people can look at their voters' pamphlet statement and go, well, here's a guy who addresses the war.